What is up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Tribal Academy, where I just got back from draft night. Amazing night. I'm loving the Edge of Eternities, the mechanics and the warp and all that stuff. But I also went and I bought about one box. I'm lying. I bought two. I bought two booster boxes, but we're going to open up one of those on our channel in just one sec. But I do want to remind you guys, I am a smaller YouTuber, so every subscriber does help. It means a lot to me, and it helps us grow our communities to being better at playing Magic, building decks, and just having a good time and conversations with each other. But without further ado, we're going to go over to me opening up some boxes. All right, see you guys in a sec. All right, guys, so this set looks dope, but I really doubt, and this is not what I'm about whatsoever, that you get your money in return for this set. Like, it's just one of, like, the Final Fantasy came out and everybody's like, all right, everything, you know, big money, big money. I knew a guy that actually did like 5 boxes of Final Fantasy, sold them all, got all his money back, and then he built his CEDH deck off of that. But I don't think this is going to be the set that does this. Now, do I think that this is better than Aether Drift? Yeah, I like this a little bit better than Aether Drift, but I do think Aether Drift was still fun. I'm all about drafts and stuff and pre-release nights, and I loved the pre-release of this event and Aether Drifts. But yeah, I don't think you can get your money back unless you get like 2 Ancient Tombs in this, right? So I bought this for about $160 for my LGS. And how many packs does it come with? It comes with a guaranteed foil in every pack, but this should have probably like 30 or something in there. I'm not gonna go deep diving for how many packs. Whatever, doesn't matter. But let's just start cracking some packs, talking a little bit, and having a good time here, all right? All right, pack number 1. Let's see if we get that Ancient Tomb. All right, so first we got a drone that flips over into a lander. Landers are really cool, especially if you're running land drop decks. This thing could make a bunch of things off a Scoot Swarm when you're dropping lands, or you know, if you have a bunch of these out, or just like a land drop for like a Chocobo where it gets +2/+0 till end of turn, and you're just, all right, you got 5 of these and you find a way to sack all of them because you have nothing to do, and you're like, sack them all and then just drop 5 lands. It can go crazy, but you're gonna have to run a lot of, you know, basic lands in a deck, which I'm cool with, but I'm not really a basic land person per se if I don't have to be. So Wet Blade, Shatter, do. So I did have fun tonight in the draft. That looks like something from the Alien movies. I really dig that. But I'll be honest, there was a few issues with understanding the mechanic. Ooh, we have a Stomping Ground. That's a good land. I think last time I bought it, it was like $10. And we have Wet Walking, which is also so we have a rare and a legendary. When enchantment enters, if you cast it, shuffle your hand and graveyard in your library, then draw 7 cards. Okay, that's kind of like a Wheel of Fortune going off just for you, though. The Spur spell each player casts during each of their turns may be cast without paying its mana cost. So it kind of is a give or take type thing. I do like this Bombard. It's cheap. Kuja deck. But yeah, I had fun, but the warp ability was definitely somewhat confusing to fully understand. You know, it's first time seeing it before people get all upset like, how do you not understand warp? Brother, it was my first, brothers and sisters, it was my first time seeing warp, all right? So let's go ahead and get rid of this token real quick. It's a robot and it's a drone. So on the second game I was playing, this kid was warping and bringing things back from exile constantly, right? But some of the effects of the card, oh, that's a good card right there, Vanishing Light. Some of the cards didn't allow that, and he just was like, I'm gonna keep going off with this. And ooh, that's dope. All right, this one's whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent chooses a creature they control and exiles it. That's pretty good. It's a 4-drop. So yeah, he kept doing that, and I called him on it, and I was like, hey, we got to talk to a judge about this. And the judge came over and looked at his stuff, and he's like, hey, it doesn't work that way. How many times have you been doing that? He's like, oh, just this turn. And I was like, brother, you've got +1/+1 counters everywhere. It wasn't, trust me, it wasn't just this turn. We have a human soldier and a lander. And he kind of got away with murder, and then he continued to try to do it throughout the game, and I'd call him on, being, bro, you got to stop doing this, right? But he's 17, and I understand from that mindset. When I was younger, I felt pitted against people, because I started playing Magic when I was about 16, and I felt pitted against people right away, especially when they were adults, and they knew more about the game than I did, and it kind of sucked. It sucked. Ooh, hold on. So we have Moonlit Meditation. Enchant artifact or creature you control. The first time you would create one or more tokens each turn, you may instead create that many tokens that are copies of enchanted permanent. That would go good in a Mendicant Core that I have. Oh, Cosmogrand. So he did have this in his deck too, and he was just going off with it, and it was absolute ridiculousness. Oh, I love these. So yeah, he kind of like, he knew better in a way, and I kind of understood where he was like, his feelings probably towards it, because the last two drafts I've helped him build decks, and he still didn't really like, he didn't know how to play them right and all that stuff, and he just didn't go off, and it was unfortunate. So I did, you know, concede both games that he was doing that with. It just was too much, and I was like, all right, I'm done. But the next two games, you know, they were great. They were with people that knew what they were doing, and it just made for a good time. It was a really, you know, fun draft. Ooh, Echoing Deeps, Land Cave. You may have this land enter the capped as a copy of any land in the graveyard, except it's an addition to its other types, and you can add one colorless. All right. Cosmogrand. That was the one we pulled earlier. That was full art. So we're doing good. So if you guys see that I get my money back, please tell me, because I'm not like the professor and then they have an editor, because you know, I'm new. Yeah, I'm a small YouTube person. You know what? Let's make a deal. If I pull a Ancient Tombs, you have to subscribe, because then I could be like Professor and hire somebody on, probably my wife, for no pay whatsoever. She's gonna see this and be like, "You're joking. I'm not going through all your cards for you." She's not into Magic, guys. She would look at me like I'm a dingus. Pain for all. Enchant creature you control. When this aura enters, enchant creature deals damage equal to its power to any other target. Whenever enchant creature is dealt damage, it deals that much damage to each opponent. I would question putting that in Kuja. And we have the Sarima. Okay, when this enters, search your library for a legendary creature card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. Oh! That's a 3-drop tutor. You don't even have to use this as a spaceship. I mean, it's got flying and other tap legendary creatures you control have indestructible, but it costs 7 to get there. You could do that easily, but dude, just the tutor alone? Oh my! All right, we're gonna have a sip of a unmarked can, because I'm not, you know, sponsorships. That's why I didn't get these early. I only got them at the pre-release. Some YouTubers going, "Oh, I get a whole booster box, guys. We're gonna crack this till I get this. This is the only one I have." And then like a day later, they're cracking more collector boosters, and you're like, "Brother, yesterday you said those were the only ones you had. Now you're cracking more." But okay. I'm not trying to slam on them, but I'm very big. Like, even if I got big and I got like sponsored by Wizards of the Coast, ooh, this land is tapped. You can add a swamp, and with a swamp and a colorless, pay 2 life, sacrifice creature, draw cards equal to that sacrifice creature's power, activate only the sorcery. Oh, if you have a big boy out, go off. But yeah, I wouldn't even do that. Even if I got them early and Magic's like, "Oh, we need you to open these early," I'm going to be like, I'll open them and talk about them, but I'm not going to show them off. I'm just going to say how I like the mechanic. It's not the fact that people have fear of missing out on that stuff, because I have seen people very upset with FOMO, but it's just more like, hey, I want to respect the community and get them the same time everybody else does. Oh yeah, you're the first, so everybody's going to watch it. I'm not about that lifestyle, guys. This looks like another thing from Aliens. I like that theme. This was great in my deck, mind you. This was great. This went off. This was heat tonight in my draft or pre-release. Oh, that was just heat. Dark Endurance. So what it pretty much does is, if you're gonna add a +1/+1 counter, double it and give it to the next guy on your side of the board. You know, like, it's like, all right, so it's +1/+1. Oh, it's a +2/+2. Now, I didn't get any of the sliver cards, but I did get one Eldrazi, which was like down here that has numbers. It was number 1 in the set, and I got that earlier. And that was dope when I got that. Let's see, anything good? We have Needle Spires. Land enters tapped. It goes for a white and a red, and then until end of turn you make an element. So I don't see that being played in most of my decks. The Emissary Escort. Yeah, I hate doing this, guys, where I'm like, I have to skip past all the commons. If you guys don't want me to do that, and you're like, dude, I really just need you to go through the commons because they interest me more than, you know, the mythics and the rares. That's fair. That is absolutely, and you know what? I'll start doing that, but we have to wait for a new box, and I do a box every time. We started with Final Fantasy, and now we're here. Started from the bottom, now we're here. Started from the bottom, now the whole team here. Alright, let's see. Ooh, Pinnacle Emissary. Whenever you cast an artifact spell, create a 1/1 colorless drone artifact creature token with flying. That's good, because now you can get some flyers out there, and you can warp them out. So, let's explain the warp mechanic real quick for you guys. So, warp says you may cast this card from your hand for its warp cost. Exile this creature at the beginning of your next step, then you may cast it from exile on a later turn. Right? But what this kid was doing, he would cast it, and it would go into his graveyard, but he'd be like, well, it's exiled, and I'm going to cast it again. I'm like, brother, it's in your graveyard. It's not in an exile pile. And he's like, yeah, it is. So when it dies after I warp it, it just, you know, like, and then I come back out, it just goes exile again, right? Because you got to exile it because you used it. I'm like, no, it's in your graveyard, man. And he's like, no, it's exiled. You don't understand. It's exiled. And I'm like, okay. And he was going off with counters like crazy because he was also playing green-white like I was. So he was just countering up, and it was getting ridiculous. And I was like, you know, the judge told him, hey, it's in your graveyard. It's not in an exile. If I exiled his graveyard, then he'd be able to do it. And he's like, he told me, he was like, that's silly, because here's the thing. Like, there's not cards that put things early in exile from the set. So, you know, it doesn't work that way. That's why I can cast it again. And I was like, brother, stop the arguing, man. Like, and he's like, and then he ended up saying, you gotta realize, this thing is for a prize, and it's for a prize, and I'm gonna play this how it's supposed to be played. Okay. So we have this legendary spacecraft. I'm gonna ignore it because it's a 5 cost. And so with this too, to man a spacecraft is kind of like manning a vehicle, but you can't use the vehicle right away, right? You have to get it up to +12. But once it's there, you could stop manning it, and then now it's usable for its 715. So Comet Crawler, that looks like a sliver. Why didn't they make, you know, like, hey, these are slivers? But nope, Magic was like, we're not doing that. Crazy, right? You include a few sliver and can't, stuff, just a few. But we're not gonna do slivers. Crazy. Now, I don't know about those full arts that look like those metal signs people put up in their houses of like things they really like. They look like somewhat rusted. I don't know if those come in here or just the collector booster. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, guys. But we're going through some basic commons, just kind of flying through, seeing what we get. Ooh, Noah Hellkite is a really good card. He has flying and haste. He's a dragon. When this creature enters, it deals 1 damage to target creature an opponent controls, and you can warp him, exile, come back out, right? So you can warp him down, get an attack in, and then you put him in exile, and then you pay his cost later on. So warp is just a great thing, but you want to make sure that you have your exile pile somewhat organized to remember what creatures you can warp back. Unless you have a good memory, unlike me, it's kind of hard to do. Get rid of the token. If I can do my hands right. I don't even know how to control my hands, guys. That's crazy. So Scavenger Grounds. This is a desert. Sacrifice a desert, or sacrifice a desert, exile all graveyards. That's cool. If somebody's got some graveyard stuff, that could be constant graveyard hate because you don't have to sacrifice this. You can have another desert out, and you can just keep going off with it, right? That's Possibility Technician. That's a good card. I like that. I like this card. I like that, guys. I like that. Constant graveyard hate. But you could be mana screwing yourself, right? How many times you guys have went off of a zombie tribal deck? I know it's not called tribal no more, even though I'm Tribal Academy and I'm not changing the name and I'm not going to stop calling it tribal. How many times, though, have you guys seen a zombie tribal deck? It's not much. Not that much. Alright, we have a Mystifying Maze. Add a colorless. Exile target attacking creature an opponent controls at the beginning of your next end step. Return to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. So it's kind of a way of, oh, it's shiny. It's kind of a way of locking something out, kind of like a shock, or what do you call it? How do I not know? I'm a Magic channel, and how do I not know terms? It's because it's late at night, right? I got out. It's like almost 12 o'clock now. Crazy. Give me a break, right? It just kind of locks it down for a second. Okay, now we're getting into the stuff. Now we're getting into the cookies and cream. Starwinder. Whenever a creature control deals combat damage to a player, you may draw that many cards. Ooh. It's a 7-drop though, so it's not going to see... So that's another issue with this deck, is there is some CEDH cards in here. I won't be able just to name them off the top of my head what I'm seeing, in case you guys are CEDH players. But there is a lot of stuff that can go into Casual Commander. But, you know, like, this is a time where I can vent to you guys, and you guys can be my therapist and just listen. I got you guys hostage here while we do this. I feel like CDH has gotten a lot, or just bracket 3, I mean. This is a good card here. So he counts for every land, that's his power and toughness. A big land deck, he can be a 12-12 coming out, right? It could be crazy. If you can give him haste right away, you know, that would also be crazy. You may put an artifact or creature card from your hand into the battlefield. That permanent gains haste. But here's the issue that I have with bracket 3. And I'm part of the issue with my Kuja deck. I really am. Bracket 3, I feel like, you know, now it's been out a while, and people that used to play, and people like me, I will admit, people like me have figured ways out to make their decks, you know, bracket 3, but also still be a very quick, fast deck. And, you know, some of these things could play out as bracket 4 decks, and without game changers. And that is an issue that I've seen playing now, is that people are 100%... Ooh, there's the Eldrazi again, so this is the one I pulled. When this creature leaves the battlefield, draw a card, then you may put a permanent card with mana value less than or equal to the number of lands you control from your hand onto the battlefield. So you could just drop a chunky boy out, right? Because this is like turn 5, turn 6, you get this. He finally dies, what, turn 8, turn 9, and you have like 12 mana out, and you can just... Emrakul. I'm going to drop Emrakul, you know, out of my hand. But yeah, so I feel like bracket 3 has gotten a lot more streamlined from people that just really want to play decks and play what they have and still have, you know, a quick game. So I sit down at my LGS and we play, and it's like, if I don't play Kuja, there's not a chance in hell that I'm going to be sitting there in the next, you know, 20-30 minutes. Enchant creature you control. Whenever enchant creature attacks, put target creature's card from defending player's graveyard on the battlefield under your control, tapped and attacking. Ooh, Void. At the beginning of your end step, sacrifice this aura unless a non-land permanent left the battlefield this turn or spell was warped this turn. So you can warp something and then just keep it down, you know. But yeah, I do feel like bracket 3 has gotten to the point where it almost feels like I'm playing bracket 4 with my friends, and you have to build 3 decks that are kind of built like bracket 4s, or you don't stand a chance. What's unfortunate, because I see new people sit down, they're like, hey, I just cracked a pre-con, and everybody else at the table's like Edgar Markov, Galta, and I'm like Kuja, right? And Kuja somehow still pulls away from these guys, but it's ridiculously quick. And I feel like if I play my group hug deck, yeah, it's going to slow it down a bit, but that person doesn't have a standing chance in hell, which I feel bad too, because I'm like, dude, you're brand new, and I really want you to have a good time, because I want you to think that, you know, this game is not this fast-paced, have to spend money on this game, but it really is. So you can pay 2 life for Breeding Pool. It's just another great land that goes into your commander decks. Ooh, this creature's power is equal to the number of cards you own in exile, and its toughness is equal to that number plus 1. So with warping abilities, you're putting stuff in the exile. If you got a big old exile pile, somebody dropped a Bajuka on you, and you drop that, ooh, go ahead and Bajuka me. I was waiting for that, baby. But the thing is, if you play it too early, people are not going to start exiling your stuff. So it could be a way of holding your graveyard hostage. It could be like, you got to remove this and then you can get rid of my graveyard, but it gives me a little bit of a chance to play with it, you know. It's a great way to, you know, do a little hostage negotiation. Rescue Skiff. Ooh, Extinguisher Battleship. It is an 8-drop. When this spacecraft enters, destroy target non-creature permanent, then this spacecraft deals 4 damage to each creature. Oh, for an 8-drop, yeah. Yeah, that's something that'll shut down some decks, especially token decks like Cranko. Hate to mention it again, my Kuja deck. You blow up my wizards, I'm screwed. Yeah, that's beautiful. I like it. I like it a lot. Alright, let's see what else we got. We got absolutely abysmal. Ooh, Hissing Quagmire. Giggity giggity goo. This land enters tapped. You can add a swamp or a forest until end of turn. You can make an elemental. I'm not a big fan of the elemental ones, but it's cool. Rust Harvester, Menace, exile an artifact card from your graveyard, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature, then it deals damage equal to its power to any target. So I had a question for you guys in the comments. Alright, now that they added more robots, is Minikin Core technically the first? Because somebody was telling me recently that this is a non-canon event, this Edge of Eternities stuff, which I don't understand why somebody would say, hey, it's non-canon. I think it was Wizards that stated that, and I heard that through somebody said, Wizards stated this. I don't know, I'll have to look it up, but I think these robots should count. Now Minikin's got some buddies out there. You can do a robot tribal if you want, which would be crazy. I don't know how that would work. Warmaker Gunship. When this spacecraft enters, it deals damage equal to the number of artifacts you control to target creature and opponent. I think we went through that one already. We have Command Bridge, which is a very mid card. So here, let me explain this one to you. It enters tapped. When this land enters, sacrifice it unless you tap an untapped permanent you control. And then next step, you untap it and add a mana of any color. To me, that's just kind of mid. I don't want to tap something that I could use unless it's like a Birds of Paradise, and I'm like, or something that's just so weak, like a token or something, is a 1/1. So if I had a token deck full of 1/1s and I knew there was a shoozamadoozle of them out on the battlefield, I hope I haven't sworn in this video yet, but I'm sorry, kids, if I have sworn, but yeah, if you have that going on for you, then yeah, go ahead. Go ahead and drop that, but for right now, I don't see that getting much play. Lightstall Inquisitor, it's an Angel Wizard. Ooh, I like the Angel. Vigilance, when this creature enters, each opponent exiles a card from their hand and may play that card for as long as it remains exiled. Each spell cast this way costs 1 more to cast. So that hurts them. That's one's like, let me punch you in your junk real quick and make it cost 1 more. But it could be something really cheap that they exile from their hand, or what does it state? What else has to be exiled? Let's see. Let me reread that. When this creature enters, each opponent exiles a card from hand, so they can exile a land and just be like, alright, getting rid of a land. Big whoop. You hurt me so much. See, that's the thing you have to think about too when playing cards like that, is like, how much does it actually hurt them? How much can they finesse around that? I mean, maybe they're mana screwed and they have nothing in hand. You're like, alright, this will hurt them, that person. But at the same time, the person that's mana screwed, are they really going off? Are they really? We got a shiny back there. This one goes good in the green-white if you're playing draft. That should be in there. Astrali Reclaimer. Flying. When this creature enters, return target non-creature, non-land permanent card with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, where X is the amount of mana spent to cast this creature. So, 5. Or you can warp it for 3, get a 3 out, bring this back out after it goes into exile, and yeah. Or does that work? I don't think that works that way with this one, because it doesn't have the bracket with what the warp does. Does it? Guys, tell me in the comments. Steadfast Second. Other creatures you control have haste. Artifact cards and red creature cards in your hand have warp 2 or 3. 2 colorless, 1 red. Loving these lands though. These lands are so pretty. These things are so pretty. He's got a pretty face. Might ask it to put some Kool-Aid on his lips so I can kiss him. I don't know if that's appropriate for this channel. Let's see. Command Bridge. That's a cool card. That one, if you're playing white-black, you want to play this in your draft event. If you can. Ooh, the Dominion Bracelet. That is a great card. So equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has, for 15 colorless, exile the Dominion Bracelet you control target opponent during their you control the target opponent during their next turn. This ability costs X less to activate, where X is this creature's power. Activate only as a sorcery, so it has to be on your turn. unless you have things to give them instant speed, right? But I think this one has to be a sorcery, so I don't think that matters. So it's going to be on your turn. My Cloud deck, yes, that will go in there. If you thought it wasn't gonna, it is, because Cloud can tap, because Cloud is gonna, most of the time, be above 15 damage. His whole ideology is the best type of board removal is player removal, and that will definitely, you know, I could just screw somebody and just have them attack somebody that is really big going off, have them sack a bunch of creatures, and then I'd be like, all right, cool, well, now that, you know, I did that, Xenomorph Imago, Insect Druid, flying, landfall. When a land you control enters, target creature has base power and toughness 3/3 until end of turn. If you control 6 or more lands, that creature has base power, toughness 6/6 until end of turn instead. So, target creature, or let's say, yeah, target creature, you can do a token and make that thing a big booty creature, a 6/6, right? And if it has flying, like a Thopter or something, yeah, go off. Go off. Make that thing a little big hit creature for a turn. Let's see. Vote out. That's kind of like the Among Us reference, and it's kind of goofy. I played Among Us when it first came out. 0 point ballad. Destroy all creatures with toughness X or less. You lose X life. If X is 6 or more, return a creature card put into a graveyard this way to the battlefield under your turn, or under your control. Obviously, you're going to want to pay that 6 and take 6 life and then take something, right? I mean, you're probably not going to want to go after a 12/12. Are you willing to risk it for the biscuit? Is what I'm asking. Because if the biscuit is a 12/12 due to other effects causing it to be a 12/12, it's not really worth it then, because, you know, it's like, oh, well, I'll return it. Yeah, it's a 5/5, my guy. Now it's a 5/5 again, or a 2/2. You're like, oh, crap. Oh, no, never mind. We get them in here. I was wrong. Deafening Silence. Each player can't cast more than one non-creature spell each turn. That is a beautiful card right there. I like that I got that. That is purty. Alright, Consult the Star. And then, ooh, got a foil Swamp. Swamp. I like that. That is such a cool card. Beautiful, some might say. Breathtaking, others might state. I don't think we are going to get the Ancient Tomb, guys. I'm starting to doubt it. I'm starting to. Singularity Rupture, destroy all creatures and any number of target players, each mill half their library rounded down. Beautiful. Mill deck. People hate those. I say play them if you want. Because in reality, if everything's going quick nowadays, like it is, a mill deck shouldn't be an issue then. Most people are going to sit down and be like, okay, you can play mill. I don't care. Why is that? Because everything's going quick. By the time you mill them out, it's later game usually, right? And they got the stuff that they need. It will affect some people's game plans, and you're going to see people get all hissy-fitty about it. Ooh, Pinnacle Stargate. This is the card that I got with the 2025 marker on it. When this artifact enters, exile all artifacts and creatures with mana value 2 or less until the artifact leaves the battlefield. Put each card exiled with this artifact into its owner's graveyard, then create 2/2 colorless robot artifact creature token for each card put into the graveyard this way. If somebody's going off with an artifact deck whatsoever, I mean, that shuts down their mana rocks, a lot of them, and you just like, hey, exile them, and I'm gonna make some stuff. Alright, this is the last pack, and this means you guys probably don't have to even sub to me, and you can ignore me for the rest of your lives. Should have bought one and snuck one into this. I'm not that much of a dirtbag. I know some people out there that are ambassadors are packing their packs, or WotC is packing them for them. Yeah, we're not getting it. But we do have this legendary creature. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It's a skeleton in addition to its other types and has no abilities. Activate only as a sorcery. Boo. I mean, we got something cool, though. Do I think I got my money back? Absolutely not. But we did get this Deafening Silence. I think it's like a $5 card right now, which is dope. But yeah. Don't hate me if you're one of those people that end up watching my videos and like, oh man, you called me out for doing this. Now I gotta prove it and open the pack. You already did it in the past, my God. You already did it. But alright, let's go back to me and finish this video up. So yeah, I mean, Edge of Eternities is just an awesome set. Now, do I think there's a lot of good commander cards? I didn't see a lot of commanders sticking out too when I was going through all those. And I did look through their website a little bit from Wizards of the Coast, and I just didn't see, other than that one crab that does food token stuff, which sounds pretty cool. I did grab this one, as you guys can see, and it looks pretty interesting. I opened it up, went through it, but you're going to see a lot more standard play, some more casual games going on with that set. I don't think there is any real CEDH cards in there. If I'm wrong, tell me in the comments, but I hope you guys really enjoyed this content. I hope you enjoyed this content and commentary. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you did, if you can leave me a like and subscribe, that'd be amazing. But until next time, it's been Tribal Academy. Over and out. Adios, mi amigos.